Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the Glow Cloud team.
Welcome everyone. Today we're here to help you build your cloud computing career, enterprise architect career, or any technology career of your dreams. My name is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and I'm here with my Chief Marketing Officer, Alonzo Coleman, who's also a great cloud architect. And here's why we do what we do. When I started my tech career 25 years ago after leaving healthcare, I did what most people did. I got a bunch of certifications, spent a fortune, and when it came down to it, I applied for jobs and I got rejected by everyone. And then I learned what employers actually care about. And within 2 years, I was a principal architect. And for the last 2 decades, I've helped people build their technical career. Maybe they wanted to become network architects. I've trained them. Maybe they wanted to be enterprise architects. I've helped them get there. Maybe they wanted to be cloud architects. I've helped them get there. Or solution architects. I've helped them get there. And that's why we're here, because I know how to help you build the most elite career you can, where not only do you get the job you want, but you will earn more than the competition as well. And I want to make sure that we answer your questions. So bring us your questions. I'm super excited about our brand new Enterprise Architect program. We've been getting enterprise architects hired all the time, and now we have a new special enterprise architect program in addition to a cloud architect program. The enterprise architect is one of the highest architects in the world. I spent most of my life as an enterprise architect, and I love it, love it, love it. So, come to the free webinar we have on Thursday. The link is in the chat box and the description below. So if you've got some questions on cloud architecture, enterprise architecture, how to build an architect career, how to get your first solution architect job, ask us your questions, and that's why we're here. So super excited to bringing you a new program. Alonzo, why don't you welcome everyone?
Hey, definitely, Mike. This is 2024. Welcome everyone to our very first Head in the Clouds webinar and podcast with Mike and I and everyone else for the from the Gold Cloud Careers team. We are excited. We've got so many great things lined up, a lot of great additions to the team. We're going to talk about that later on in life when it's time. But yeah, we're excited. We're stoked. We are elated to give you the very best content that is really going to enhance your career and your overall trajectory, not only for yourself, but you think about how it's going to change your family and improve your family life, and possibly even increase the opportunities for you sharing what you know as a cloud architect with people in your family, as well as your children as well. So we are stoked to be here. We're stoked to share our content, and we're ready to rock and roll. So give us your questions. We're ready to answer them.
And I love answering questions, and I love helping people build their technology careers. So don't be shy. Ask us your questions.
From Cloud Station, please, what is the main difference, Mike, between the solutions architect and cloud architect role? I always get confused.
So Cloud Station, that's an excellent question. So we typically think of a solution architect as someone who works for a vendor and designs, presents, and sells a solution for that vendor. So when I was a solution architect early on in my career at Cisco, what did I design? Cisco solutions for our clients. So if you think of an AWS solution architect, they design systems on AWS. Now, here's the reality, Cloud Station. 98% of organizations use more than one cloud. So realistically speaking, the only place where you're going to work as an AWS solution architect is AWS. Now, if you are in the business of maximally helping your clients, you know you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You know it's not appropriate to use a single cloud when mission critical availability is needed, because a single cloud is a single point of failure. And that's where the cloud architect comes in. The cloud architect is really about optimizing our client's position. So let's think about it. A private data center or a private cloud offers the best performance and, typically speaking, the lowest cost, but it lacks the agility and scalability of the cloud. So a cloud architect would work with an organization to help design their private cloud, and then they might connect to, say, Azure, Azure being the cloud that has the most artificial intelligence capabilities to leverage artificial intelligence on the Azure cloud. They might put some additional infrastructure on AWS because AWS excels in the land of infrastructure. And they might even do disaster recovery on Google. And that way, if the AWS and Azure cloud failed in your data center, you can be up and running on Google in minutes. So, that's the key. The cloud architect is more like an enterprise architect. It's a much bigger role. It's a higher paying role because it's dealing with multiple clouds, which is the reality of today's world. Nothing wrong with the solution architect job. Many of the cloud architects we actually train actually get their first job as a solution architect because they're a little easier to get. Now, this is so kind of keep that in the back of your mind, but they are both wonderful roles. I've done both. But, when you start going on the role of solution architect, you're designing, presenting, and selling one vendor's technology solutions. The reality is one vendor will never have the best technology solutions. So when it comes to building the best, you're going to be working with multiple vendors across platforms. And that's where that cloud architect comes in. It's sort of like in between that solution architect and that enterprise architect role. So I hope that answers your question. And it's a great question.
From Flying Kites, Mike, What are some things to be on the lookout for regarding cloud architect careers in 2024?
Another excellent question, flying kites. So the cloud architect career gets better and better and better as more technology comes. So here's the thing that's going on. We're seeing a lot of cloud repatriation, which means more work for cloud architects, less work for solution architects. And what's happened is organizations have realized that the cloud is not cheaper. The cloud does some things so well, which makes the cloud very worth it. The agility of the cloud and the scalability of the cloud. But we're seeing more migration towards hybrid clouds and hybrid multi-cloud. So put the systems that need the maximum performance and the lowest latency in the private cloud, and then use the systems that need scalability and agility in the public cloud. So that's one thing. Two flying kites that we're seeing is most cloud architectures are disasters. I'm going to say it again. Over 50% of all cloud architectures are disasters. It was recently published in CIO magazine. And a really good article published by McKinsey showed that 70% of all architectures that are designed hurt the business, not help the business. They're complete failures. So what you're seeing is years and years ago, the architects were more techie, more techie, more techie. When I started my first technical architect job, it was pretty technical. And then the architect get further and further away from the technology. So you're seeing the cloud architects becoming more like enterprise architects, where they work with the client to explore the business vision, and then they help re-architect the business processes, the way that business makes money. And then they evaluate all the organization's technology and find the best way to support the new business vision. The architects are getting involved in governance, and the architects are getting involved in a lot of C-suite level presentations and a lot of working with the executives. So more business, which is great, because we always started with more business than everyone, because we knew not only two things. I knew that when you train your architects with more business acumen, not only do they get hired more, but they get paid a lot more. And let's face it, we can enjoy our jobs, and I've loved my architect job, but we go to work for a reason. If it was a party, we'd have to pay to go in there, like to a pizza parlor, for example. Or what are those video game places, Dave & Buster's? We'd have to pay to go in. So, we're going into work. And if we're going to put our time and we don't have the time spent with our family, we might as well earn as much money as possible. So we focused on the business acumen. Now, the next thing, flying kites, that you're going to see is we're going to see a lot more artificial intelligence injected into all of our architectures. And we're going to see two sides of artificial intelligence. The organizations that need the best, they're going to be designing their own. The organizations that can get away with, average, they will use the pre-made systems that are available by the cloud providers. So we're seeing a lot more artificial intelligence. I actually like to say that AI architecture is becoming cloud architecture, because everything's a cloud now. If it's a data center and I put Nutanix on it, or OpenStack, it's a cloud, has all the auto scaling cool stuff that we have. So I expect, and I see it, and I hear it when I talk to more and more people, much more business than the architects. The days of the techie architect are almost dead. We still have to know the tech and know it well and know how to design it well, but we've got lots of great engineers that can go build this stuff. What companies really need is they need experts at learning how to apply technology solutions to business problems. And that's why the architect is one of the most strategic roles in the world. It's also why it's one of the most high-paying jobs in the world, because it's 50 to 80% business and 20 to 50% technology.
From Cloud Station. Also, I'd like to know what a day in the life of a cloud architect can be like from your experience, Mike.
So now I've been an architect now for 25 years, and I can tell you it's a very amorphous role. And here's what I mean by this. A typical day would involve waking up, maybe creating a little bit, maybe working on a document that you have for a client, for example. If you work on that document, you'll typically be in some meetings. You'll be facilitating meetings on WebEx or Zoom or Teams or Google Meet or something like that. Then you'll probably do some sales presentations, some in person, but mostly remote in today's world, unless it really matters. You're going to be not only drafting thought leadership document, you're going to be creating presentations, you're going to be designing architectures, you're going to be collaborating with other people. The only thing we don't do as a role as an architect is touch the technology. So, imagine a day where then that could be one day. The next day, you could pretty much wake up and drive or fly to your client site, take your clients out to lunch, have a meeting with your client, and then do a little schmoozing with your client, take them to a place like Morton's or Smith & Wollensky or Ruth's Chris, and you're using your corporate credit card to take them to dinner, to deepen your relationship, and then you want to get your clients drunk. Because when they get a little drunk, they actually go and they give you the information that you need that they're not always willing to get, that can help you better position yourself. It's about relationship development. The next day, you could be flying to a corporate office to do an executive briefing. And while you're there, you're going to meet with some tech leaders when you're there. The next day, you could be having phone calls with security vendors all day. You could be on the phone with Palo Alto and Fortinet and Checkpoint and Cisco to work on, to get their input on something else. Another part of your day, you're going to be in meetings collaborating with other architects, because architecture is a team sport. So all in all, think of it as a job where you're going to be in meetings, giving presentations, selling things, negotiating deals, and working in teams to actually go and design solutions for the client. It's the best role I know, one of the highest paying roles I know, and you don't have to touch the tech. You don't have to code, you don't have to configure, you don't have to do any of that stuff. You leave that for somebody else. Simple, very fun job.
From Mark. Hey, Mark. Mark is a wonderful addition to Go Cloud Careers, and this is something that we get asked a lot. And, thanks, Mark, for bringing this to our attention. So Mark is asking, what recommendations on a high level can you offer to help those transitioning from an engineering role into an architect role, Mike?
Oh, Mark, that's a great question. And Mark is a network architect. Prior to that, he was a network engineer, and he's an expert on software-defined networkings, and he's part of our team. So he hears this question all day, and because he came from such a hardcore engineering background, he like me, actually faced a challenging transition. The first thing to remember is that engineering is about technology. Architecture is about business. The engineer has to focus on what's directly in front of them, because they have to. If the engineer needs to write code for something, or a bash shell script, or whatever it is, they need to be focused on that. The architect can't afford to look at any of that stuff in depth, because you've got the architect that needs to focus on the business itself, the goals for the business, how the business actually operates, its processes, what kind of technology systems they have, everything. And that means security, it means AI, it means business applications, it means networking, it means data centers and cloud. So, we're really wide and very not deep. Next, you got to understand that we have to stay high level. And it's really hard when you're in engineering, you're used to getting too techy. And the other thing, Mark, that's really a big change is engineers generally love the tech, and that's why they're engineers. As an architect, if you love the tech, you're going to hurt your clients. So for example, I see the microservices champions and advocates. I see the developer advocates out there, or the serverless advocates out there, and they love technology. And every time they talk to a client, they're like a hammer in search of a nail. You need serverless, you need serverless, you need serverless. And for us, there is no best technology. There can't be any favorite technology. We have to be like a physician who doesn't have a preference on a particular drug company's drugs, have preferences on getting the patient better. Well, for us architects, the job is all about getting the clients better, improving their business performance, and optimizing where they are. So that's the big difference. It's a total mindset shift. And Mark, it's tough, because I've worked with many engineers and turned them into architects, and they become great architects as long as they can forget some of the engineering. And I've worked with people that have never worked in tech before, and I can get them hired as an architect often as fast as somebody that's been in engineering for a long time. Now, the people with more engineering are going to get a higher first salary than the people that have not. The people in engineering are going to understand the technology typically better than the people that do not. The people that do not don't get bogged down so much in the technology because they learn how to be an architect. And these are people that don't come from a tech background, and I don't care what anybody says. You can get hired with absolutely no experience. It happens all the time. So as long as you are properly trained. Now, here's the key, Mark. In engineering, certifications give us some skills. When I did my Cisco Certified Internet Expert, it taught me how to configure Cisco routers real well. It did. but it doesn't teach anything related to architecture. So we got to get out of that certification mindset. For example, in my CCIA, and that's the hardest of all certifications and pretty much the only one employers care about because they know you need to know something to pass it. Here's what I learned: how to configure Cisco gear. It was great. And then 6 months later, I'm an architect, and now I'm talking to the CEO about the vision of their business. And there was none of that in my CCIA program. And I'm asking the CEO, well, I learned that I needed to ask the CEO, how does the business operate today? What are the business processes? How does stuff get done? And I wasn't trained for that. And for example, when the chief information officer asked me for a business case, and I'm like, what do you mean a business case? And he said, look, if this project of yours is going to cost $20 million, Mike, and it will, I need to know that it's going to produce $30 or $40 million of assets, because if it doesn't, we'll invest our money somewhere else, and the heck with the tech. And I went, oh. And then I had to start schmoozing with clients, and I had no idea how to do it. I had to start selling stuff, and I had no idea how to do it. So we also have to get out of the world of thinking certifications are going to help us in architecture. They don't. Certifications will get us an interview, which I love. They're not. That's related to your skills. So I hope this can help.
Back to Cloud Station, Mike. How important is branding for a cloud architect? How can an aspiring cloud architect maximize their visibility and showcase their skills and competency in order to get hired?
Well, Cloud Station, branding is essential for any career. But I'm going to make it clear. Branding's not about LinkedIn posts and Facebook posts. It's about a lot of different things. Your brand, realistically speaking, is what someone says about you when you leave the room. That's your real brand. So think about this. How you treat others is part of your brand. When someone calls you or emails you or texts you, do you respond immediately? Or does it take you 2 days to get back to someone? That's part of your brand. When you deliver something, is it perfect or near perfect, or do people have to go and fix it for you? That's your brand. How you treat others is your brand. How you make others feel is your brand. Do you have honesty, integrity, etc.? So that's your real brand. Well, let's talk about social media tools. So if you're an architect, we have to remember at Cloud Station that our main job is to show clients that we can improve their business performance with technology. We're not engineers. So the big mistakes that I see is someone wants to be an architect and they do these engineering or administration projects and they post, here's how to set up a WordPress website. And you know what I see as a hiring manager for an architect? Don't hire this person. They're learning how to do a sysadmin or an engineer's job, not an architect. Or they're talking about this cloud project, which involves building. There's no building for architects. Imagine a building architect posting videos or posting things of them using a hammer to get hired as an architect to design a hotel. People would laugh, but people don't understand the architect role, which is one of the main reasons that we're here and we're going to talk about this. So kind of keep this in the back of your mind. So if you create content, that's one of the ways to build your brand. What is your content? Maybe content could be, how does zero trust architecture compare with defense in depth? And what's appropriate for my client? That could be an architecture post. There could be a new artificial intelligence technology that's there, and talk about how this technology will improve business operations and promote profitability of the businesses. That's architect work. And that's how you showcase your skills, by giving presentations and by writing good documents, because in architecture, it's a paper career. We give documents, we give presentations, we write thought leadership documents. The only thing we don't do is engineering. We don't implement anything. So show people your leadership, show people your business expertise, show people your digital transformation knowledge, show people that you know how to manage stakeholders, show people that you know how to lead, showcase your executive skills. Now you got a great career. So that's the way you do it. You have to show your skills and how relevant your skills are to the clients you're going to perceive, and then the world will come to you. You know, I used to think it was funny. I could give it, literally speaking, a single speech. I could make a LinkedIn post, but I had to take Cloud Architect down from my LinkedIn profile, because every good LinkedIn post I would make, I'd get 6 to 10 people trying to bring me in and interview me or hire me for a job. So, that's what your key is. That's what you need. You need to show the world that you are an architect and you're doing architect things and you have architect thinking. Hope that kind of answers your question.
So yeah, if you all have any questions, this is a new year, new opportunity for you all to engage in your cloud architecture dreams, goals, and aspirations. So don't be shy. Pull anything that you have, any question. Don't even worry about if it's simplistic or you need to come forward assuming that we think that you all already have tech knowledge. Come forward, share your information, share your thoughts about being a cloud architect, and we're here to help you. Normally, we're always on the go. We're always in class. We're forwarding cloud architectural aspirations for people who are already students. And normally, we're already engaging in meetings or in interviews and so forth. So this is your personal time for the office hours that we're offering to get your questions answered. So please come forward.
Yeah, please come forward. I get, literally speaking, 15 to 20 requests for private consultations each day. And even though we charge $1,200 an hour for them, I'm backed up for 6 months. And I really don't love charging people for consultations, which is why I love to come online for free. So I'm here. Ask the questions while you can.
From Juan David Ortiz. Hi, Mike and Alonzo. Do you think cloud architecture in general will change with AI in the picture? Not in be afraid sense, but what can we do with it as a cloud architect?
Well, Juan, AI architecture is going to be in every cloud architecture we do, or most of them these days, because artificial intelligence will provide a competitive advantage. Good news, it increases the architect jobs. And here's why, Juan. Architects can't be replaced by technology, because technology will not ask the executives about their business. Technology itself, like AI, will not figure out the business processes. The technology is not going to build a business case and convince the client they need it. The technology can't sell. Now, engineering careers like programming, we're already seeing employers lay off programmers because that's a hand-on skill that enterprises could do very well. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So that's what's going to change. We have more opportunities for us architects. And now that the tech is even easier and artificial intelligence can help with more of those engineering things, we must move up in the business world. So in the world of AI, I like to say, celebrate your humanity. Build your emotional intelligence. Build your executive presence. Build your CXO relevancy. Build your leadership skills. Build your stakeholder management skills. Build your presentation skills. Kind of keep that in the back of your mind, and that's going to get you to the goal career. And that's what we want. So great opportunity for architects. Artificial intelligence adds more technology that can improve business performance. And every new technology invention that occurs, we need architects to look at the big picture. We can't look at artificial intelligence on its own, because anytime we implement a technology, it changes things. So for us, it's a good thing. Now, let's talk about architectures that went wrong. And I'll tell you why they went wrong, because this is why it's so important to understand architect skills. The worst thing that happened to healthcare in the United States was the government-mandated electronic health records. So when I was younger, I was a nurse practitioner. Here's one of the things that that was interesting to me. Here's what we would do. We'd see a patient, we'd ask them some questions, we'd make a diagnosis, and we'd handwrite a prescription, and we'd handwrite a note. And sometimes the pharmacy would call me, like sometimes as in almost every day of the week, and say, Mike, did you mean this or this? I can't tell by your handwriting. And we would call and we would answer it. Now, then the US government wanted to save lives, because in those days we had 98,000 medical errors in the United States, and medical errors were the 5th leading cause of death. And people thought that was because they didn't have any technology when people were gambling about trying to figure out and place bets on what people wrote on paper charts. So now the US government says you must use electronic health records. But the problem is the electronic health records change the workflow or the process that the doctor, nurse practitioner, and physician assistant use in their medicine. So we used to spend 12 minutes seeing a patient and 3 minutes writing a chart. Now the computers came in with all their drop down this, and they've got so many things that you have to say to even write a prescription that now we spend 12 minutes on average with the computer and 3 minutes with the patients. And here's why. The people looked for the coolest technology with their electronic health records. They didn't look at the business processes that the people use. So what happened to medical errors? We went from paper to fancy medical errors that the US government even reimbursed our healthcare organizations to do. Well, medical errors went from the 5th leading cause of death to the 3rd leading cause of death right before COVID. And medical errors went up to 251,000. So an explosion of 250% in the medical error deaths that actually occurred by adding there. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. That's why architecture is about business and not about the tech.
Hope we answered your question there, Juan. Back to Mark. For those that are not part of the Go Cloud Careers family, I want to share some of the questions students have had, which the answers to these might be useful. Let's see. Mark, question. Having coached thousands of people during your tenure as an architect, have you noticed any common obstacles faced by your students who are working to gain their first architect role?
Mark, absolutely. 99% of the people don't know what an architect is because they do a solution architect service, which is the name of a service and how to configure that service. And we architects do none of that. So the first problem is we have people confusing systems administration and engineering with, or more systems administration, less engineering with architecture. So people go get a bunch of technology certifications and the manager's like, I don't want a techie, I want a leader. So that's one of them. The second thing is people focus so hard on their hands-on skills, but they don't know how to design. So if I said to you, Mark, and Mark would understand this, router BGP 65312, neighbor 192.168, remote AS 65313, neighbor 192.168.1.3, activate. I just configured BGP. Poof. Okay, now I have no idea what happens because I learned how to configure those 4 lines. I don't know how the BGP finite state machine works. I don't understand, for example, how to perform traffic engineering just because I know some commands. I don't know how to design the architecture for traffic engineering. I don't know what happens when some network engineer does that on a router in Japan, how that's going to affect my workers in South Africa, how it's going to affect my sales team in Princeton, New Jersey, and how that's going to affect the software development team in San Jose, California. I don't know, because configuration has absolutely zero to do with system design. The next place is I see people that get certified, they don't focus on their presentation skills. And what's the last part of an interview for an architect? A presentation, usually in front of a bunch of people. So there's that. And kind of keep that in the back of the mind. These are what we're actually talking about. When people confuse engineering with architecture, they're there. So a couple of things. Join us on Thursday for the Enterprise Architect webinar. We teach cloud architecture there and enterprise architecture there. And for people that want to get their first architect job, if it's a cloud architect job, I recommend getting and downloading the completely free How to Get Your First Architect Job. And we go over the role and the skills and everything, because usually it's just a skills mismatch. People study engineering and want to be an architecture. What that's really like is I studied to be an airplane pilot, and then I'm applying to be the medical director of a hospital where they require you to be a physician. It's just a different set of skills. So it's about getting the right skills. And we can go to the next one.
From Diggleman, how many architects would you be over as a cloud architect, Mike?
And he says a principal architect. So
Okay.
as a principal architect, let's talk about this. And we'll get to everybody's question that we can. So as a principal architect, it's typically an individual contributor, not a manager, which means, and here's what happened to me, and here's where all these roles are contained. So I had my first network architect job, okay? And then within 2 years, I was a principal architect because I focused on the right skills versus the wrong skills. So I didn't manage anybody. I mean, I built architecture teams and I would lead a bunch of engineers, et cetera. But, I didn't manage anybody. They weren't direct reports. They were indirect reports. So as a rule, as a principal architect, you won't be managing architects. The directors of architecture will be managing the architects. You'll be doing your own thing. But why did they come up with the principal architect role? I can tell you right now, or the principal engineer role. What was happening prior to that is that we had really good engineers and really good architects. And it's like, okay, and this was in those days. So a good network architect back in 1996 earned about $200,000 a year. And if they wanted to earn more, they'd become a director and earn $350. This is 20 years ago. Now what ultimately happened was that you'd lose all your good architects to move up into the management positions. So they created these principal architect roles that pay $300,000 to $600,000. And that way you can stay as an architect. You could focus more on the business side, the leadership side, and earn. And the companies didn't lose their best architects. So you're still working by yourself. You're typically a director level person, but you have no direct reports, because normally when you're a director, you're busy managing people all day. Here's a role where you're not managing anybody, but you get director pay, you get director level respect, and you're seen as a strategist inside of the organization. I hope that makes sense. Sorry.
From Alex, Mike, how can I start this training from the start? I want to be a competent architect, if you will.
Well, Alex, we first need to know what kind of architect you'd like to be. Because the skills of a solution architect and a cloud architect are similar. The skills of an enterprise architect are a little more businessy. The skills of a security architect are very technical on the security side. The skills of the network architect are very technical on the networking side. So could you tell me what kind of architect you desire to be? And from there, I can build you a map. But I want to be real clear, and I really want to help you, Alex. I want to know how to get you to your goal. So if you could tell me the type of architect you'd like to become, I'll tell you. And it's super important because it's a very different path. What we see in technology, Alex, is people are trained for somebody else's job. And when it comes time to getting hired, they have none of the skills. And I really want to help you, Alex, and I promise I will. Please just tell me what kind of architect you desire. Let's go to the next one, and let's wait for Alex to get back to us.
Antonio, what would I need to do being an Uber driver to prepare to work as a cloud architect?
Antonio, you need to get training. But let's talk about what that training is. So if you wanted to be a physician, you go to medical school. You want to fly an airplane, you go to flight school. So you're going to need to get training. And I'll also have a completely free document on how to get your first cloud architect job. I'd love you to download it. It's completely free. And next Thursday, we have a completely free how to get your first cloud architect job webinar. And my team can pop that for you as well. We normally do the cloud architect webinar, but the best of the architecture roles, the biggest and highest, is the enterprise architect. And we're going to be doing a webinar for that on Thursday, completely free. So what's going to have to happen? You have to first learn, what is the cloud? The cloud is somebody else's network in a data center that they virtualize and rent you space in. So to be a cloud architect, you have to understand the network, the data center, and the cloud. Because if you're going to take things from a private cloud and move them to the public cloud, and you don't understand the servers and virtual machines and containers and routers and switches and load balancers, you're not going to be able to do it. So you need to learn the network, the data center, and the cloud. Next, you're going to need to have good security knowledge, which is not how to configure stuff, it's how to design stuff. After that, you're going to have good sales skills, because you may be selling billion-dollar solutions, and you don't sell a billion-dollar solution like you sell a car. You've got to build business cases and ROI models. You need to have the leadership skills that you typically get out of an MBA program, but you don't need an MBA. You typically need to have sales skills, because as a cloud architect, you're going to design, present, and sell. And if you're a good salesperson, let me show you how much more you can actually earn than the average architect. So, there's that. So you're going to have to learn how to sell. You typically need, when it's your first architect job, it's a little harder to get hired than if you have no experience. So you're going to have to really master psychology and interviews. And we teach this in our architect program. And, after that, you're going to have to get some good presentation skills and some good writing skills and some strong business skills. No, we teach all of it. And that's why we have people like Ivan Tamba, who was a college student working as a waiter that we got hired by AWS, or people like Coyote, who was a college student hired by AWS, or people like Balwinder, who was a stay-at-home mom who we trained and got hired by Microsoft, or people like Al Legister, who came from a non-technical sales role and we got him his first senior solution architect job at Deloitte, and people like Wallace Agana, who we got his first enterprise architect job without ever working in technology, people like Daniel Bosu, who didn't even graduate high school, we got hired at JP Morgan Chase as an architect. We had Jennifer Ema, for example, who was a mental health tech. We got her hired at JP Morgan Chase as an architect. People like Pierre Dassault, who was working on sailboats, so we got him his first architect job. So the key is you're going to need the right training. And it has nothing to do with certification training. Yeah, sure, we provide training for the Certified Solution Architect Professional and the Azure Solution Architect Expert, but honestly, that's nothing. I mean, it's really nothing. If you know the technology, you could pass them with a week's preparation. It's all the other stuff that we teach, the system design skills and understanding what goes on and that. So there they are. So you just need training. And here's the reason I'm so focused on sales skills. So I was a principal architect in less than 2 years, and two things determine your salary. How badly the company wants you, which is related to your interview skills. And when you're brand new and you're going to compete with other people that have experience, you're going to need good interview skills, which is why we spend so much time training. And I want you to look at these jobs. Here's a principal architect role at Google, and this is why I'm obsessed with sales. You can see the average pay is $508,000, but look at the pay range. It's $394 to $677. So what you're really dealing with is almost $300,000 difference between the top and bottom paid person. And most of that comes down to your interview skills as well as your sales skills, because we get paid a lot. Now, it's not just Google. We can pick Microsoft. Microsoft's one of the best companies to work for in the world. They're excellent to work for. And, their average principal architect pay is, $380. If you look at the numbers, $379.9. But if you look at their pay range, it's, $300 to $495. So again, what you're dealing with here is the sales skills, and we can see how and why it matters so much. So, that's why we really want to focus on sales skills, and that's why we do so much, because it not only gets our students hired, they're there. Love to work with you, Antonio. We've got an incredible architect program, and pretty much it would take you about 6 to 12 months, and then you'd have your first architect job. It doesn't matter your background. It matters how hard you work in the program. Great.
Back to Antonio, are there certain skills that I should focus first on in your training? All skills, and are all skills fully developed, equally developed? I guess that's the question.
Well, we provide all the skills that are necessary for someone to become a great architect. But the business skills are often a little harder than the technology skills to learn. So people in our program, we have it set up where first people complete an orientation because we want them to be successful. And then we have them do some technology fundamentals because we want them to be successful. Then we start bringing in business and technology skills at the same time. And we continue to develop that skills. And to the persons in our classes designing architectures with us, and they say, Mike, I'm bored, this was easy. And we say, woohoo, you're ready to be hired. And, that's what we do. And students stay in our program until they are hired. They have unlimited access to the non-live components of our program, which is significant. Unlimited access to our community. And we give you up to a year in the live classes. And you don't need a year in the live classes, but we want to make sure everybody gets through and everybody gets hired. But all skills will be equal developed. But we're not going to say that all skills have an equal level of proportion. Like the architect role is 50 to 80% business. So we might have 60% business in there and 40% tech, but we're going to give you everything that you need.
Back to Cloud Station, Mike. What are some important interview tips for succeeding as cloud career interviews?
Know what the client wants and show them that you are what they want. So if somebody tells me about their coding skills and I want to hire an architect, I'm going to say, yeah, I don't want an engineer. So what do you need to prove in an interview? You have to prove that you have the system design skills of the architect. What do employers want? They want people that know how to do this job and do it well, not anybody else's job. They want to know that you can communicate well for two reasons. If you communicate well, you'll get the right requirements. If you can't communicate well, you'll never get the right information. Your architectures will be a disaster and they'll hurt your clients. But it's more than that. You're part of a team and they want to know that your communication skills are going to bring out the best in others. They care about your emotional intelligence. Why? Because Alonzo comes in and all of us feel better. So the other 8 of us that work see Alonzo and we're all chilled out, we're all relaxed, and we each do probably 20% more work. So if Alonzo brings out 20% more than the other 8 of us, guess what? I've got like 1.6 new employees because Alonzo made us happy. So Alonzo makes us feel good, for example. So they need that emotional intelligence. Now they're also looking for energy, enthusiasm, and passion. They're looking for someone that's excited about the job, not someone that looks like they need a nap. They're looking for people that are competitive because they want the best, and competitive people fight. They fight to be the best. They're looking for people that go above and beyond. So the people that are out there posting on LinkedIn about their work-life balance and about how hard their job is, they're never going to get hired. Now, that doesn't mean you won't have a work-life balance or work-life harmony anyway in your job, but it means the employer knows you're willing to go above and beyond, and the employers need to know you're a team player. That's what you need to get across. You need to establish rapport, first thing in there. Then you need to prove competency. And once you're done that, you need to prove them why they can't live without you. That is the secret to getting the best architect jobs. Now, honestly, I've never been on an interview where I didn't get a job, ever. And why is that? It's because I knew what employers wanted, because I did research to find out what employers wanted, because I made the mistake that everybody else did in my career 26 years ago. I went and got a bunch of certifications and thought employers would care, but they didn't. These are the things they care about. So now you know what to do and what to prove to yourself. Great question.
From Saraville. I'm unemployed, coming from a failed business venture, and need a job to cover living expenses and gain some experience in the IT field. What would you recommend I do in the meantime while I take your course, knowing that it will take 6 months to a year to complete and/or get cloud hired? Currently, I have a CompTIA A+ level knowledge and currently studying for the Azure Fundamentals AZ900.
Okay, Saraville, first, I'm sorry about the failed business, and I want to help you. So here's what I want you to understand. There's nothing you can do with a CompTIA A+. I beg people not to take CompTIA certifications. The people that do A+, they might work in a PC repair shop if they're lucky. They might work at a Best Buy Geek Squad, and some of them will go get a help desk job. Now, between the Azure Fundamentals and the CompTIA, I think within 6 months to a year, you could potentially get a help desk job. So what I would do is I would take any job that I could that would support my family, regardless of what it is, in tech or out of tech. My brother makes $50 an hour in his spare time driving an Uber. I'm not joking. So, I would do whatever I needed to find financial security for my family, and then I would focus getting there. Now, Saraville, I want to understand this. Here's one of the many reasons I don't recommend CompTIA, and I don't recommend these basic intro-level certifications, because they don't provide you the skills for a real job. And what they really prepare people, Saraville, is intro-level jobs. Like we used to have someone that would be a cloud admin. They would literally click things on the management console to install stuff. But in today's world, I can hire one DevOps engineer that can replace 50 cloud admins. So the intro-level jobs that people study for are gone. I used to hire people to rack and stack servers in the data center. I don't hire them anymore because so much of it's on the cloud. As far as help desk, if your communication skills are good, you could do it. But generally speaking, with just A+, it's usually still not enough. So, you've worked hard, I'm sure, on these basic intro certifications, and it breaks my heart every day to say this, but that's why you're going to need some serious training. The A+, the Net+, the cloud, those are certifications that I say don't waste your time. And that's why I do these things, because I hate it. I know how hard you worked on that A+. And quite frankly, it's not a bad certification if you wanted to do PC repair. But there's not a lot of PC repair shops out there that are hiring. So when it comes to these basic intro-level jobs, Azure Fundamentals, CompTIA A+, Net+, I can use artificial intelligence, which costs me nothing to do this job. And that's why it's so hard to pay people for these intro-level roles. That's why I guess it was 2 years ago when I said, don't train for entry-level roles, don't train for fresher roles, just train for a senior role. And, I've never had an intro-level role in my life. Everybody told me I needed to do CompTIA A+, Net+. I had a CCNP within 6 weeks because it's just as easy to pass a hard exam as a simple exam. And here's the reason why. When you take a simple exam, they get very precision on the words and they make the writing really complicated because they don't want an exam so easy that everybody passes. And a more complicated exam, except for the AWS Solution Architect Professional, which is all buzzwords and bad paragraphs, which is the only thing they can use to make that challenging because there's no content in there. It goes back to the same thing. So, Saraville, is there something that you would like to do in the short term that maybe we can give you a band-aid of skills? But with just the A+ and the Azure Fundamentals, I'm sorry to say I don't know what you can do with it. That's why I beg people there. And it's funny because there's a person that teaches people support. And he tells everybody A plus, net plus, A plus, net plus. And he tells people for help desk careers. He's been unemployed himself for a long period of time. And that's why I say to stay away from these. Not that the content's bad, the content is good. But what's the point of a certification? It doesn't teach you how to do the job. It gets you an interview. And then it's your skills. So Saruva, what skills do you have? Maybe that'll help. Do you understand routing protocols such as BGP and OSPF and IP addressing? Maybe you could do something on the networking side. Do you know how to code where you can get a basic coding job? Are you an expert with Linux where you can do these things? So maybe you have a certain set of skills, but I don't hire anybody on certifications and nobody else hires anybody on certifications alone. They hire them on skills. So if you've got additional skills, I could tell you, but it seems to me as right now, no matter what you're going to need some serious training for any major career. You want to be a Linux engineer, you're going to need strong Linux training. Want to become a cloud engineer, and I don't recommend it because you're going to, if you wanted to be a cloud engineer, you would need Linux training and Python training and Bash shell scripting training and Windows PowerShell script training and systems administration training and DevOps training to be a cloud engineer. You want to be an architect, here's what you need to learn. System design and business skills. It's often easier to get someone a cloud architect job than for me than it is a help desk job. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind, and I hope I answered your question. But if you've got a different set of skills, please tell me outside of the certifications, because I'd love to find you something. But, I worked as a firefighter, a paramedic for a while, and when I was doing tech. At some point, I did practice internal medicine when I was doing tech. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind.
Back to Antonio. Mike, how long after I join your training I should start thinking about certifications?
When you're ready to get hired. So here's the thing. I can't hire anybody on certifications. Nobody. So you go get 10 certifications and I'm like, okay, I can't hire you because you don't have the skills. So a certification will get you an interview, but getting hired requires skills. So for our clients, here's the thing. If you wanted to do, say, the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam or the Azure Solutions Architect Expert or the AWS Solutions Architect Professional, if you started from scratch and read the silly documentation with it, 6 months later, you'd have a certified solution architect professional. But you know what you would know? The names of AWS proprietary services and how to configure those services. Now, Alonzo's my chief information officer right now, and I'm presenting to him as a client. And I talked to him about his S3 buckets and EBS block storage. And he's like, yeah, Mike, thanks. That was nice to meet you. Could you get out of here? I got a golf event. Now, if I talk to Alonzo about his virtual machines and his storage area network and his business applications, we're speaking the same common language. So the names of those services in AWS, well, we can't use them with our clients anyway. And the rest of the certification is how to configure it. So if you spent 6 months because you didn't know anything about it trying to get that basic certification, you're going to need another 6 to 12 months in our program to students come with AWS certifications. We have to teach them to forget it, to really focus on how to be an architect. So by comparison, I decided to take the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam. Why? Because it's the hardest one. And I don't waste my time with simple stuff. I do the hardest one. Now, here's how I prepared for it, Antonio. I knew networking, data center, and cloud technology. I hadn't worked with the Google Cloud, so I figured that would be the one I would take. I spent 2 days preparing for it. Why? Did it only take me 2 days? Because I understood NoSQL databases, and I understood relational databases, and I understand networking, and I understood storage, and I understood containers and container, container, the management of it, the control plane of it. And that's the point, or container orchestration, that's the word I was looking for. I knew the skills, so it only took me 2 days to do the job. Now, Antonio, I've gotten lots of people hired with no certifications. Happens all the time. I've had people like Delroy Batt, who had a cloud practitioner, and after we trained him, got hired. Actually, Delroy Batt had no certifications before becoming a cloud security architect. Robert Welch had a cloud practitioner. Jeffrey West, who we trained, who was working in geology and geospatial imaging, nothing related to cloud computing, had a cloud practitioner. Employers don't care about your certifications, they care about your skills. So learn the skills, and you might actually get hired before you do the certifications. And then your employer will pay to send you to a boot camp. You go away for a week and pass the Certified Solution Architect Professional. It's nothing if somebody's teaching you the exam. It's only hard because people don't understand the underlying technology. So learn the tech, and when you're ready to get hired, then do the certifications. But build the skills first, because I can hire you with skills. I can't hire you with just certifications. I hope that makes sense.
From Mercedes, I am an IT BA, but I am drawn to solution architecture that solely gathers requirements. The ecosystem of I work in lets me know I need 3 to 5 years of technical experience. Can I make the jump straight from BA?
If you get the training. So you can't just go from one career to another. Mercedes, I can't tell you the number of cloud engineers I have with 10 years experience that I need to train to be architects, or software developers with 20 years experience that design to be architects. You can't go from a flight attendant to an airplane pilot without training. Now, can you go straight, Mercedes, and do a cloud architect job with the right training? Absolutely, you can. And I've got numerous clients who've never worked in tech in their entire life. So the key is you can. And here's the reality. Most places want 3 to 5 years experience for a front desk role at a hotel, a waiter or waitress that they're going to hire at a restaurant, a secretary, they want 3 to 5 years experience, an executive assistant, they might want even more experience, even though it's a fancy term for a secretary. A cloud admin, which is the intro level job, they typically want 5 to 10 years experience. Every job wants experience. So why do they want experience? They don't care about experience at all. None. They want to know you have something other than certifications, because what everybody does is get a bunch of certifications that have nothing to do with the career, and they're there. So the key is, yes, get the training and you'll instantly get a great architect job. But make sure your training includes the right business, and you're going to need a lot more business than I'm assuming you're talking about a business analyst. You're going to need a much level higher business. You're going to need that MBA executive level of business. And why? Because we're going to be doing business process re-engineering for billion-dollar architectures. We're going to be optimizing businesses, and we have to understand how that organization works. Deep into financial statements, deep into understanding the problems, deep into understanding the competitive landscape for our clients, deep into understanding all the potentials that we have. And then Mercedes, what's it really about? It's really about optimizing our client's business. And architecture, I like to say, is an evaluation of trade-offs to determine what trade-off. I can make a system more secure, which is good, right? But at some point, I make it so hard for the employees to do their job that they put sticky notes with their passwords everywhere. It's a trade-off. I can put in a bigger, faster network. Well, but there's a cost to it. That's not really such much of a trade-off. But if I use a cloud-managed artificial intelligence solution, probably going to cost me more than the one on my data center. But the cloud-managed one, I can set up in minutes. The one on my data center may take months to code and deploy. So the key is, what are the requirements? And we have to evaluate all trade-offs. The way I learned, honestly, architecture was when I learned to practice medicine in my last career. I was an internal medicine nurse practitioner. And a patient would come in and they have these problems. And I would say, okay, for this problem, I can give you this medication, but this medication is not going to work with your other condition. So now I got to choose this medication. That won't work with this condition. And I can give you this medication, but this medication will help with this, but it's going to give you the side effect. And then I need to give you another medication to manage the side effect. So medicine and architecture are identical careers, and that we both evaluate the client by asking some questions. We both perform an examination on the systems themselves. We both make an assessment or a diagnosis, and we both make a plan. The plan for the physician is a prescription for the most part, and the plan for the architect is an architecture document. It's the best job ever, Mercedes, and I really hope you move into this. It is a role that I can't even begin to describe you how wonderful it is.
Dr. Mercedes, I am interested in learning about the different types of architecture. Not sure I understand the true differences, Mike.
Okay, and that's a great question. I'm so happy you asked. So solution architecture is this. You work for a company and you design their system. So a solution architect at NVIDIA is designing data center solutions and GPU solutions. A solutions architect at Cisco predominantly designs network solutions. A solution architect at AWS designs AWS and AWS only solutions for the most part. Now, the enterprise architect is the king and the queen of all architects, because it's all about business transformation and business optimization. So as an enterprise architect, we focus on everything. Their cloud systems, their AI systems, their data center systems, you name it. Applications that they have, business processes they have, And that's why the enterprise architect is my favorite of all the architect roles, because it's the most strategic one that's out there. Let's talk about the cloud architect role. Well, it's kind of a lot like the enterprise architect role, other than it's slightly more technical. But if you're a great cloud architect, you're doing more enterprise architect things anyway. And that's why so many of my students in the cloud architect program actually got enterprise architect jobs, because we're biased on everything we do to enterprise architecture. And why? Because most technology projects without good enterprise architecture fail. And because we know that if we provide enterprise architecture training to everybody, now it's not as much enterprise architecture training as in our enterprise architect program, because we've got to focus on cloud for our cloud people. They earn more and they get much better jobs. So think of solution architecture, single vendor solutions where you design only their stuff. Think of enterprise architecture as the big picture, and think of, for example, cloud architecture is all the cloud stuff, networks and data centers across the clouds, much like enterprise architecture. Now, what's a network architect do? They design solutions for networks. What does a security architect do? They design the security solutions for the clients. What does an AI architect do? They design artificial intelligence solutions. But note, the cloud architect is pretty high level. Their stuff includes the AI, the network, and the data center. Typically speaking, they earn more because the further you are away from the technology, the closer you are to the business, the more you earn. The closer you are to tech, which is why engineers are low paid compared to architects, they're not less valuable as people. Their skill set is no less. It's equally important, because if we didn't have the engineers to build what we design as architects, we'd have nothing. But tech skills for our engineers get paid a lot less than the business skills for the architect. So understand, the bigger roles like these enterprise architecture roles and the more cloud architecture roles will pay more than a solution architect role in general. But they're their primary differences. And that's a great question. I'm so happy I asked it.
Back to Mark. Part one of a question. With so much focus on the technical aspects of architecture circulating online, especially related to solution-specific roles, what would you say architects should focus on first and foremost to avoid falling prey to the pressures of chasing after the latest technology?
The architect needs to focus on the business. If the architect's focused on anything other than optimizing the business, they're hurting their clients. The clients already have great engineers that focus on the tech. They need you to apply technology solutions to a business problem. That's the role. So if you focus on the tech, I can recommend a great engineering career for you. You tell me what kind of tech you want to focus on, and I can recommend that engineering career. And we need engineers, and I love engineers. Because without it, all architects like me make are system designs and business process designs and pretty architecture pictures and RFIs, RFPs, RFQs, architecture documents, thought leadership documents. But it's just paper. Now, those engineers are the magical people that take our paper and bring it to reality. But we must understand, as architects, our business is about optimizing the business, and technology is our tool. Great question, Mark.
Okay. Back to Antonio, Mike. In your training, the students practice designing architectures from the beginning, or do they need to cover some fundamentals first? Also, which software is used to design the architectures?
Antonio, great question. So a couple of questions here. Let me answer them one by one. So the way we do our training is we do it in several different ways. We have on-demand content where we cover tech fundamentals and building your career plan for your unique goals, which we help you on because everybody's got different goals. And then we provide the tech fundamentals, and then there are business skills and leadership skills you need. And then there's ultimately architecture projects in time. But that's done in a self-paced manner. You can also go back and watch the last several hundred classes we taught, because our program gets better and better and better. And we do that because we keep adding classes, so our students keep getting a better opportunity. So, you can think of that. And then we teach live classes 3 days per week. And in the live classes, we do our architecture work. So today we were designing security architectures. On Thursday, we're going to be getting involved in some networking things. On Friday, I'll be working on, I think it's executive presence with the clients, which is a really important topic. Something that's a very expensive skill to learn. I think my company paid about $20,000 to develop my executive presence. in addition to an executive coach for years. But we work on that included because, I don't want anybody to have to pay $300,000 to become an architect like me. I don't need to work. That's the reality. And because of it, we were able to put together a course that we pretty much offer at our costs because all we care about is really helping change lives across the world. I'm very blessed that way. I had a great architecture career. And I have a team of the best people in the world that care. So so the architectures are done, and we constantly repeat the architectures. So, we might do an architecture for a bank next week, and then we'll go back and do that architecture for a bank again. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So keep that in the back of your mind. So, and we can't constantly repeat them. So no matter when somebody joins our program, they get hired. Now, why are we concerned about getting people hired as fast as possible? The average cloud architect right now has a $237,000 salary, which is about $19,000 a month. Yeah, almost $20,000 a month. So keep that in the back of your mind. So if I get you hired 6 months faster than you could on your own, it's 6 times $20,000, which is $120,000 in your favor. So by not running batches, we can give you the whole year to stay in the program, unlimited time and the offline stuff until you are hired. So self-paced stuff related to fundamentals, and in class we do it. And I love having people do things in class, and here's why. When I learned medicine, what did I learn? I learned to work with more senior people. I learned to work with different people than me, and it's architecture teams, and you get to learn. And then when those senior students get hired, guess what? As the architect, you're in great shape. Why are you in such great shape? Because now you're moving up the ranks and doing more and more, and you learn. So sometimes you may observe, sometimes you may participate. Don't worry. Keep that in the back of your mind. So keep that in the back of your mind. That's what we do. And that's why we constantly have people going through and staying until they're hired. Which software is used to design architectures? Microsoft Excel to calculate things, Microsoft Word to write your documents, and a drawing program, which could be Adobe InDesign, which we don't typically use, but my architectures go to graphic artists to use Adobe InDesign. Many people used Visio years ago. Many people use Lucidchart. Many people use Draw.io. Personally, I use PowerPoint. Why? Because every enterprise architect I know draws their pictures in PowerPoint, and I've done it forever, and it's simple to use. And I can send the architectures to people, and they understand. So it really doesn't matter what you draw the pictures. And Antonio, when you become a big enterprise architect and a principal enterprise architect, and you're earning $500,000 a year, you know what you're going to be doing? You're going to be taking a piece of paper or a napkin. You're going to be drawing pictures with a pen. You're going to take a photo of it with your cell phone or a scanner, and you're going to send it to a graphic artist that's going to make it look beautiful in Adobe InDesign. Great, great.
Mark, do you have any recommendations for how architects can stay ahead of the rise of AI in architecture?
Absolutely. So here's what I would be doing. I'd be looking at all the business problems that actually exist out there and then saying, what can I do? So systems administrators, sadly, I think their days are over. Why? If I'm designing an architecture for a business, why would I need a systems administrator when we could use artificial intelligence to generate the scripts to do what a systems administrator does? Might not need them. I might be saying an organization spends too much money on software development. Do I need engineers to write code? Or can I have a couple of superstar engineers in another country? People aren't coming to the office anyway, so why does geography matter? I'd be just as well to hire somebody in Lagos, Nigeria, or Cape Town, South Africa, or Bamenda, Cameroon, than I could in somebody in New York. If the people don't come to the office, who cares where they're at? So, we got to look at the organization and what's going on with macroeconomics terms. We've got to look at microeconomics terms, and we've got to be there. At the same time, I would recommend that architects listen to the AI leaders. Who are they? They're Facebook. They've been leveraging AI forever. They're Google. They've been making algorithms forever. They're Microsoft, who now has a massive partnership with OpenAI. So NVIDIA, they've been working on this artificial intelligence thing for decades. And I would attend their presentations. That's how I would boost my ability. And I would read CIO magazine and figure out how businesses are leveraging it. But remember, we're not engineers. And you may hear a lot more AI architecture training presentations on our free YouTube channel coming up real soon. I know I'm filming some on Thursday with an super experienced artificial intelligence architect just like me.
Mohammed, what about sysadmin roles? I started my career in desktop support. Now I'm an MDM consultant. I want to switch to operations and cloud management. Managing, what's your advice to start specifically on the AWS environment?
Well, Mohammed, first, thanks for coming in today. I would recommend staying away from systems administration. I would recommend getting out of any operations role as well. And here's the reason why. An architect cannot be replaced by technology. They cannot, because they have to lead people, they have to sell, they have to give presentations, they've got to manage stakeholders, they've got to schmooze, they've got to entertain clients. So they're going to be really, really good at that. And those skills can't be replaced AI. But what's that stuff that a sysadmin does? Pretty much they set up systems. Now, how much of that can be automated via scripting? And how much of that can be done via AI? So Mohammed, to put it into context, I asked AI to write a Terraform script to deploy 5,000 virtual. We recommended, and it spit out a Terraform configuration script in a minute. I then asked it to write a bash shell script to set up an automation. AI did it for me, and I didn't even need to tune it because it was basic. So all these basic hands-on jobs AI can replace. Now, the other part of the sysadmin roles are it doesn't matter where the person is, which may be good if you're remote, and it may be horrible if you're in the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, Germany, France, or any expensive nation. But it depends that. So these roles are ripe for outsourcing systems. So first, you've seen my recommendation of not to do anything related to sysadmin for that reason. But if you love, and I mean absolutely love, hands-on configuration, here's how you can do a sysadmin role and keep your job. First, understand that sysadmin doesn't have a lot of life in it as a career. So in order to stay mobile, I would focus on getting much deeper skills. Not just how do you configure Linux, how do you configure users, but really get deep in Linux. How do we apply the Linux? What kind of virtual machine orchestration can we do on Linux with Linux hypervisors? What kind of containers and container orchestration can we set up on there? More your deep engineering skills versus the basic junior sysadmin skills. I would then also focus on some cloud administration skills, specifically around Terraform, around bash shell scripting, around Windows PowerShell scripting. I'd get real good at that. And then I'd work on my presentation skills, my sales skills, my communication skills, my emotional intelligence, and even business acumen. And that way, when the company decides to cut systems administration roles, they look at you and say, this guy, Mohammed, he's more in systems administration, but you know what? He can do anything. So when I lay off half of my systems administrators, I need Mohammed. Now we're not going to just keep Mohammed as a systems administrator. We're going to make him a senior systems administrator, and you can manage the more junior people across the world that are going to be doing the work. Now, if you want to do it on AWS, and that would be more cloud administration, I recommend getting hands-on. Hands-on with the command line, hands-on with Terraform, hands-on with scripting, and get hands-on, hands-on, hands-on. Because sysadmin role is about building and implementing. It's just hands-on, clicking boxes all day, writing the same scripts all day, so get good at it. What's covered in the certifications are barely minimal. Now, Mohammed, I never recommend the AWS SysOps certification, and here's the reason why. It's the lowest paying skill in cloud computing or anywhere. But you might be, if you really love sysadmin stuff, I would consider learning SysOps, and here's why. It's a combination between administration and operations, and that would be a good skill set. I would also focus on, I consider it junior level skills, but the Certified Solution Architect Professional, it has no architecture skills in that certification whatsoever. But what it has, I will tell you, what it has is good, is a lot of hands-on administration skills. And then get hands-on with Linux, get hands-on with a couple of clouds, get hands-in on what do you call it? On Kubernetes, get hands-on with Docker, just get hands-on, hands-on, hands-on. because this is the ultimate hands-on role. It's all about doing stuff all day long. And if you like it, those are the skills that I want you to do, and that way to make sure you actually have a career in system administration. And you can rise up to bigger and better jobs that way when the time comes and when you desire to. And if you love it forever, you just be the best darn systems administrator in the entire world, and then you'll always be safe anyway, because it's a real shortage of excellent people.
So if you all have any questions, we're still here to help. There's a lot more that we can discuss about becoming your best cloud career ever, or rather getting a cloud career. So please ask your questions. We've got a lot of great questions so far and want to continue the momentum. So please do so.
And actually, let's get to the last thing that Cerebral said. He said something that's actually really great. And I want to actually go into it. So what Cerebral said was, you know, you appreciated our guidance and you'd much rather be a personal trainer in the gym or drive an Uber than trying to do other stuff. And Cerebral, I want to give you an example. If you are being a personal trainer and you're a good one, you're actually doing architecture. So Cerebral, I don't talk about it a lot. I'm a yoga instructor. I'm also a CSCS, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. At least I was. I let it expire last year because it's not related to what I do. And when I'm really doing, if you're really doing good personal training, you ask the client, what are their goals? Maybe they're a football player and they need to run faster. They need to be more agile. You need to armor them up so they don't get hurt. And then you build a training program for them. And then you put them through the training program. There's a lot of architecture in that because you're asking the goals and then you're thinking about what modalities or things you can apply to it and how to get there. For example, if you have a runner, you're going to focus on their energy systems development, their aerobic and anaerobic conditioning. And you're going to focus a little bit on their lower body and a lot on their lower body and some core strength. Now, by comparison, let's say I have an Olympic swimmer. Well, now I need to build power because they're competing in 100 meters, which is less than 60 seconds. So I need massive power. I also need extraordinary anaerobic capacity. I need a tremendous amount of upper body strength. And it's really about synchronizing that stroke. So what can you do to build the hip strength to synchronize that stroke? So I like to say medicine, physical therapy, strength and conditioning coaching, that is architecture. You're designing a plan to improve someone's performance or a business performance. So that would actually be really good. Plus, if you were a personal trainer, worked with one, guess what? You're interacting with a lot of clients. And, you know, not everybody wants to squat 500 pounds every day. And you got to motivate them to do that. That's like selling your client in the architecture world. It's the same thing. So it's good practice. You know, when somebody comes in and they're cranky and they don't want to work out, you got to develop some emotional intelligence to get them to do it. Love it. That's going to also help you build your skills and your communication skills, and it'll explain to you how to demonstrate things and demo it well. That will boost your architecture career. So that is typically a good one. Anytime you're in a people-oriented career, it'll boost your architecture career. Anytime you're behind a desk and not talking to people, that's not going to boost your architecture career. So, Cerebral, I think that's a very good plan while you get trained. And you'll love the career once you get there. When I went to school, I worked as a firefighter paramedic. That's how I paid my way to become a nurse. And when I was becoming a nurse practitioner, I'm literally not joking. I took patients from a hospital to another hospital when the first hospital said, we can't handle this. We need to go to a more sophisticated hospital. So by the time I was working in tech, I had all those emotional intelligence skills and sales skills from working in internal medicine. It was very easy for me. So keep that in the back of your mind. Good plan.
Back to Mark. What cloud repatriation occurring, with cloud repatriation occurring, do you foresee anything on the horizon that would make architects more or less valuable to the business?
Well, Mark, it depends on the architect. The solution architect themselves will be less valuable. Why? If 30% of the systems are on the cloud, now go back to the data center, which is what you're going to see. If you're only an AWS solution architect, you're probably going to lose some clients. Or Azure solution architect or Google solution architect. Now, if you're a cloud architect, it's a boom for your architecture career because you have the opportunity to build them a Nutanix or an OpenStack cloud in their data center, or at least design it, and connect that with the public cloud providers. The cloud's not going away. The cloud is here to stay. But some of the systems should never be brought to the cloud. You can buy a server from Dell for about 300 grand, which would cost you $2 to $3 million in a public cloud over the next 5 years. So if you need that big compute performance, don't pay $2 to $3 million for that on the cloud. Spend 300 grand and put it in your data center. And not only that, the data center almost mitigates the need for 50% of the edge computing because it's got the lowest latency and best performance. So we cloud architects is great. So the more problems we get to solve, the better the architect's job. So cloud repatriation is great for cloud architects. It's great for enterprise architects. It's great for network architects too, because now we're back to building networks again. A little weak on the solution architects, but that's why we always train cloud architects, because I want to know if we train somebody and you have a career, I want you to have career agility. Like one day you're a network architect. Hey, Mike, I got this big enterprise architect role. You got enough business acumen? Would you like it? Yeah, I'd like it. Mike, I need you to manage these architects and be a senior manager right now. Okay, got the leadership skills to do it. Mike, I got this really juicy cloud architect job for you for Deloitte. Are you interested? What's it pay? Yeah, I'm interested. So, and that's why I want to build career agility skills, because if you have the right skills, you're never unemployed. So, Mark, I was in organizations that did 20 layoffs in my tenure. 20. And I've never been laid off. I've actually gotten a promotion on every single time the company did a layoff. Why? Because I had those agility skills. They did a layoff, they got rid of Mike. I need to be the new director. Okay, that's why. So focus on those agility skills, which are your soft skills, your leadership skills, your executive presence, emotional intelligence, key traits for an architect, and then you always have an art job. Really great question there, Mark. So I'll ask everybody one last time, and if not, Alonzo and I are going to go back to our day job. Me running the company, Alonzo leading people, leading teams, working on our corporate strategy, brand. Brand matters for everything and everyone. So if you've got some questions, ask it now. Otherwise, my very busy executive team will go back to you. We also have to thank Tyrone. He's in the background. He's over there in Cape Town, South Africa, having a good time running these things, although for Tyrone, it's getting pretty late at night. Any last questions? Okay, Mohammed.
As a cloud beginner with basic knowledge, how can I make my first step into cloud management team? Can I perform some training labs in my off time? Then can KO you a lot of you? Okay.
So as a cloud beginner with basic knowledge, here's the thing. One of the things that I like people that have basic knowledge to do is to buy a server. In fact, I used to recommend everybody buy a server and keep one in their house. And I've got 10 of them sitting in my house. I'm not joking. I also run an OpenStack private cloud in my house. Why do I run an OpenStack cloud? Because what I was able to set up for $10,000 one time, the main cloud provider wanted $11,000 every month for the rest of my life. And I thought, okay, over the course of 4 years, I can spend 10 grand and buy refurbished servers. I can spend 400 grand for this and use the same servers in the cloud. Didn't make any sense to me. But if you get a server, and I highly recommend it, something with at least 24 cores, 128 gigs of RAM, and either a couple SSDs and a RAID array or an NVMe drive, I'd set that thing up. I'd put a hypervisor on it, like a Linux KVM hypervisor, or maybe a VMware hypervisor, ESXi. I'd create virtual machines on there, Linux machines, and get busy on Linux. I'd start working with system management tools that exist, set them up in your virtual machine and play. I would set up virtual machines and try to hack into them with maybe some Kali Linux, which is also on another virtual machine on that server. I'd build my own cloud on that server, and every one of our students builds their own cloud, even though we're not hands-on people. But those are the kind of things that are really going to give you the best opportunities. And that's what I would do. I'd invest about $1,500 into a server, and I would build. I'd set up an EVE-NG server and do some networking things on it. I'd build a Microsoft Active Directory server and get used to the identity and access management. I'd start federating that Active Directory server with your private cloud. I'd then connect your private cloud via a VPN to, say, the AWS cloud. I would do some stuff on AWS. That gives you deep technical experience. I'd start writing some Python scripts. I'd start making some Bash shell scripts. I'd start making some Windows PowerShell scripts, because for these cloud management platforms, it is all hands-on. And it's all related to your ability to automate and script. You'll be much better in a cloud management team than systems administration. You're going to do much better there. And systems management is a skill that most people don't actually have. It's very rare. It was so rare that Cisco used to have a CCIE on network management because the rest of the CCAs out there knew nothing about it, because it's a very rare skill. So I think it's a more strategic role for you, Mohammed. I think you should do well. And shukran for the question. Okay, well, I want to invite you all to Thursday's Enterprise Architect webinar. We'll cover how to get your first architect job. And this is the best one of the best architecture careers out there. We will talk about architect roles in general. And not only we talk for about 30 minutes, but at the end of the 30 minutes, we're going to spend an hour and a half live on Zoom and answer your questions. And if you've got a question on a cloud architect job, we can cover it there. Questions on an enterprise architect job, we can cover it there. We're all 100% focused on architecture careers. We had a really good engineering program a few years ago. We canceled it because I didn't think it was fair to train people in engineering careers, even though I love engineers. When I think artificial intelligence doing a lot of the engineering work, and I didn't want to train people for a job of the past. We will still need engineers. We will need the best of the best of the best engineers. And those engineers are going to have good business skills, leadership skills, sales skills, etc., just like an architect. And we need them and we love them. But for us, we're all focused on career optimization. We're focused on helping our clients get 400, like I had a client recently with a $409,000 job, lots of $300,000 jobs, and lots of people getting their first tech job between $150,000 and $200,000. So that's our world, architecture. So join us on Thursday for the free architecture webinar. We'll have fun. We can answer your questions. We can help you build a career. And you can ask live questions, which I like that. While we're at it, please download the completely free guide on how to get your first cloud architect job. And why not, while you're at it, register for the Cloud Architect webinar too. I want you to understand all of these architecture careers, and I want to make sure you have the best career you can possibly imagine. I've really enjoyed spending some time with you. We had some great questions from Soroval and Mohammed and Dingelman, and lots of great questions from others as well, like Mercedes and Antonio. And, I love answering questions because I really love building people's career. We had some other good questions from other people as well. And I hope you had a good time. Thank you so much for the opportunity to spend some time with you. And I look forward to seeing you in a webinar. Or we'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock to answer career questions. I was sick and I didn't have a chance to really answer people's career questions. So I wanted to allocate as much time as I possibly can. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.